Care. This will be celebrated on the 26th of January 2023 under the theme, Our Tireless Effort to Transform Uganda is a promise we can't afford to fail. The NRM government has made a lot of achievements in the different sectors like infrastructure development, health sector, ICT, agriculture, education and sports, trade and industry, not forgetting peace and security. This year's event will be held at Kakeka Grounds, Kakumiro Town Council, Kakumiro District. Long live NRM, long live Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, it's a very cold Tuesday morning. We have been blessed by the showers, heavy rains wherever you are. I hope that you don't have to dread through them, but for some of us, we're lucky enough that we have been able to get to where we are going. Good morning, Uganda starts right about now on this Tuesday, 10th of January 2023. How was your night? I know a couple of people are still trying to struggle to get out of bed, but hey, it's a work day and you have, by all means, have to find a way to survive. And I hope as you're planning to make your trip, because yes, this is usually the average time people try to start getting up and getting ready for their day. Carry a sweater, carry along an umbrella, carry yourself a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, or whatever makes you happy, and also will try to keep you warm. Thank you for joining me this morning. My name is Philomena and it is Good Morning Uganda. We will be finding our way together between now and the hour of 9 a.m. and I hope you're doing all right. Well, things are really happening here on the Ugandan scene, quite crazy things. But we start off with some of the sad news happening over there at the Uganda Cancer Institute, where we're looking at a section of workers that have decided to go in for a sit-down demonstration. The question is why? Well, simply because they haven't been paid their December salaries. Now, this is coming in from a section of workers that are on the government payroll, and they believe something has to be done about this issue. But the other day we saw members in parliament during one of their plenary sessions sit down and talk about some of the government workers that haven't yet received their December salaries. And they were talking about how the Ministry of Finance has to start making plans. And they were actually talking about the fact that funds were released, but they haven't yet been given to the people who are supposed to be receiving these monies. Now, the question is, who is supposed to be taking the blame? Who is supposed to be taking the fault? And like I did say, 2023 has to be a new year where we don't have problems like this. People not getting their money or people not getting their salaries in time. That is the issue we are looking at. But when you look at Uganda Cancer Institute, it's a very important health facility. We don't need to have our workers sitting down demonstrating, because now what is the fate of the cancer patients that are undergoing care courtesy of all these medical workers? Again, I will leave this entirely to the Ministry of Health and to all other given and respective stakeholders to sort some of these issues so that we move on to the next problem come February 2023. Well, this morning I am joined by Robert Kirabo, Nyonyintono, and probably he has quite a lot to share about that as well. Good morning, Robert. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm lovely. I cannot complain.
Well, it's a very cold morning, I must say.
Oh, yes, it is.
It is in January, and we never thought that maybe it would shower this heavily. But of course, usually we are ending one of our seasons, because Uganda, we are blessed, the Pearl of Africa, gifted by nature. We have two rainy seasons. We have the March to May, we have the August to December. So I think we are just winding up. That is the December season, rain season, because we know January usually it's a very hot month. January, February, then we hit March, which is our other season. But about that, well, it's very unfortunate that we are seeing medics go on strike, mostly when it comes to cancer patients, and this is very dangerous. I think one of the things I've learned in life is all about priorities. And I must say health must be a priority. So health workers should not strike. Health workers should be people who, because these people are saving lives. You get it?
Yes.
There's no anything more important than the gift of life. So this was saving lives, and I think they should be first priority when government is planning or working out anything to ensure that they are paid, they are catered for, and we avoid such incidents.
We shouldn't put them in positions like that where they actually have to put up a very strong fight, because for me, my worry, Robert, now is directed towards the patients. At the end of the day, these are patients who just need medical care. All they want to know is they're being looked after, they're being given the right attention from the right people. But if the right people are demonstrating, because which is really understandable, because I mean, look at the times right now, Robert. The times are hard. People need their money. If they work for that money, they need it, because it's supposed to be going somewhere to cover up their basic needs. We have children going back to school, so if they sit down demonstrating all of that, then it makes quite a lot of sense. Well, it's Good Morning Uganda, and of course we still have a lot going on. I do have Mollen as well in the building with me. Good morning, weather lady. I am seeing what you talked about yesterday. The rains have come in. Please, I was ready mentally and physically. I don't know about the rest of you. Good morning.
Yes, a very good morning to you. And I think the rest of Uganda right now should be quite happy, because I think we needed the rains. There was too much sun, there was too much dust everywhere. Yes. This is exactly what we needed. What we didn't need is the rains coming this early. Sometimes it becomes inconveniencing for the early birds like us. But I think they come at the right time, and I think we might even be getting more rains even for other areas within the country, because right now it's just around Lake Victoria, but we might see even Western Uganda picking up.
Yes.
And I think that's good news, and some could repeat even tomorrow. So this week is looking quite nice, if you ask me. But also you look at the fact that it is still a dry season, so yes, let it not fool you. These rains are going to be short-lived, yes.
Well, we'll be okay, we'll be fine. But as we speak about this and the weather, I need just to talk about something that is happening in the transportation business and industry generally. There are a lot of changes that are happening right from the border industry, which again we'll be talking about much later. But this right now, I want to talk about the bus regulation. So the Traffic Directorate from police has actually come out, and they've decided to also push the regulation efforts towards the bus transportation. They have decided to stop all buses that don't have a flow chart, you know, and this is mainly because they want to cut down on the number of accidents, because they've come to a realization that buses overspeed to make sure they go more than, I don't know, a recommended time of, you know, flow. If they want to make probably 2 rounds, buses now are looking at profits, so they want to probably make 5 or 6 rounds. That means more money, and very many, by the way, passengers have been left stranded. So any bus company that doesn't have a flow chart, you're going to be stopped. You're supposed to be moving at a certain time. If that time is not yet, then you can't be able to, you can't be allowed to, you know, do any transportation services. And I'm very happy about that, honestly. It's going to be quite inconveniencing, but I do believe it's going to work.
I think it will also help with managing the whole driver situation,
Yes.
because you find that at a certain time, someone is unable to be, you know, fully aware of what they're doing on the road. So this is going to regulate some of that. And also you look at some of these buses, it's about time that they get more fleets on the road, get more buses on the road. Because if you're going to follow these kind of charts, it means you must have enough buses so you don't have, you know, constant returns. And I think I'll give you an example of what we do in aviation. As an aviator, you're required to work a certain number of hours. Beyond that, you cannot be effective on the job. And this is just a regulation. You work your hours and go, someone else has to take over. And that is how we keep safety in the skies. And this is the same thing that should apply even on the roads. There should be a certain number of hours someone is allowed to be driving. This is one way we're going to regulate accidents and reduce accidents, I mean. And I think this is a good move.
Well, when you look at the, you call it the flow chart,
yes, the
but
route
usually
chart,
it's known as the
regulation.
route chart.
Yes.
When you look at the purpose of the route chart, is one, it's not so much about return journeys actually, it's about restricting your movement to a particular destination. Now this is what the bus drivers were doing. excuse me, I'll give an example. For example, if the bus was supposed to walk Kampala to Masaka, what these guys were doing, in case he reaches Masaka and notices that maybe there are people moving beyond Masaka, so this person, instead of stopping there and coming back to Kampala, do you know what he does? He drives and continues. The man is expected to end somewhere, then he finds passengers going to Kanungu, then he shoots up to Kanungu. Then he hurries to return so that he can have another he can again load.
Yeah.
So it is basically ensuring that they stick through those routes, because police then will be able to know that if you're working maybe Kampala and Mbarara, then they will know that a day you're supposed to do 2 rounds. Oh, okay, maybe 3 rounds. Now what happens is if you exceed Mbarara because you found passengers there, this means you're going to drive a longer distance, yet you have to drive very, very fast to get people there and then return, then make the journeys you're supposed to make for a day. So this route chart will be very clear that you will be stopped and asked, produce your route chart. And then it will say, it will indicate Kampala, Mbarara. Then they ask you, but you're in Kanungu, brother. So then in that way, they'll be able to reduce road accidents. So basically that's what the route chart helps in terms of traffic. That's why even when you see the taxis, when they said, let's have a route chart. If you're in Entebbe, Kampala, Entebbe, we don't want to find you, or Kampala, Kajansi, then we don't want to find you Kampala, Entebbe. If they find you, your taxi is impounded. So when that comes to the buses, we are most likely to reduce accidents of overspeeding to make sure you still make those journeys.
Well, it's Good Morning Uganda. A lot of changes happening, but I like where the direction in the transport sector is really going. For now, we're going to look at some of the local stories and many, many others, and of course, some of the international stories as well that have been making the headlines.
And we'll begin with issues of security in our country, where police in Kasese has been able to arrest some people with improvised devices used in making bombs. Police at Kira Korongo in Kasese district have arrested 3 suspected ADF remnants with improvised explosive devices. These arrested were on their way to Congo. The police spokesperson has called on the people in the area to be more vigilant and contact security for any suspicious element in their community. These suspected Allied Democratic Forces remnants arrested include 2 juveniles, Musana Hussein, who is 22, Ashraf Moroshidi, who is 12 years old, from Busoli, Bwanda in Mayuge, and Kambale Bondwe, 14 years, a Congolese national. These were caught with assaulted coaches used in criminal activities, which include improvised explosives, among others. Police have also given update on the investigations into the tragic incident that happened at Freedom City during the New Year's Eve concert. The death toll has reached 11, according to police. The information gathered by police pins the event organizer Abe Musinguzi, also known as Abitex Promotions. And now over to health. Some good news comes in here, where we see the Ministry of Health is set to declare the country Ebola-free following not having any infection for close to a month now. The outbreak of Ebola Sudan strain was previously declared on the 20th of September last year by the Permanent Secretary and Ministry of Health, Dr. Diana Atwine. But the infection and spread has since ceased. After the Ebola breakout, there has been so many measures put in place by the ministry to ensure Uganda is free. The declaration will be made in Mubende district, that was the epicenter of the outbreak. The Ebola outbreak that had flared up from Kasanda and Mubende district had previously put the Ministry of Health and the country generally in a panic mood. The Director of Public Health in the Ministry of Health, Dr. Daniel Chabanyanze, explained the procedure followed to declare a country Ebola-free. And moving on, still the Forum for Democratic Change has launched investigations into a handwritten note purportedly written by General Salim Saleh to FDC party's vice president, who is also Kampala Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago. The deputy spokesperson, John Chikonyogo, said the party would formally reach out to General Saleh to ascertain the authenticity of the note. A handwritten note addressed to Kampala's Lord Mayor and Vice President of Forum for Democratic Change, Elias Lukwago, allegedly written by General Salim Saleh, continues to cause heated debate among politicians. In the note, General Saleh purportedly threatened to save all support that he has been extending to Elias Lukwago until he apologizes over his defamatory statements against him. Lukwago has been all over the media denying any dealings with General Salim Saleh. And finally, from the local scene, the master of ceremony at Freedom City Mall end-of-year concert, Francis Elvis Juko, has been charged with 10 counts of rash and negligency and 3 counts of causing bodily harm. He pleaded not guilty to the offenses. Court in Machindia has charged and remanded one Francis Elvis Juko MC at a stampede that occurred at Freedom City on the 31st of December 2022 and the 1st of this very year. Juko Francis was charged with 10 counts of rash and negligency and 3 counts of harm, which led to the death of 11 people following a stampede that happened at Freedom City in Kampala. Juko pleaded not guilty to the alleged offenses. Prosecution informed court that investigations into the matter are still ongoing in this matter. Court requested for more time to carry out with the following. Elvis Francis Juko has been added on the charge sheet, where Abel Musinguzi, also known as Abitex, was charged last week with 10 counts of the same offenses. Prosecution alleges that the 2 and others still at large on the 31st of December 2022 and the 1st of January 2023, while at Freedom City in Kampala, caused death of 10 people, including injuring 3. They were before Magistrate Abir Iga, where court adjourned the matter to 10th of January this year for mention.
Well, looking at some of the international stories, about 1,500 people have been held in Brazil after supporters of ex-president Jair Bolsonaro stormed Congress, the presidential palace and the Supreme Court in the capital, Brasilia. The rioting came a week after President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva was sworn in. He condemned the terrorist acts and vowed to punish the perpetrators. Mr. Bolsonaro has not admitted defeat in October's tight election that divided the nation and flew to the U.S. before the handover on 1st of January. On Monday, he was admitted to hospital in Florida with abdominal pain. Tens of thousands of people are now demonstrating in Brazil's largest city, Sao Paulo, in support of democratic values. Now, United States President Joe Biden has arrived in Mexico ahead of bilateral meetings with Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, as well as a joint gathering of the 3 North American leaders dubbed the Three Amigos Summit. Issues of migration, illegal drugs, climate change, manufacturing and trade were set to dominate the 2 days of meetings between the longtime allies who have weathered some chafing in relations in recent years. Meanwhile, rights group Amnesty International called on the leaders to make the rights of refugees and migrants a top priority. The visit began with the U.S. President's arrival last Sunday at Felipe Angeles International Airport, a prized $4.1 billion project spearheaded by López Obrador and inaugurated last year that has yet to be realized as an envisioned high-traffic travel hub.
In Nigeria, attackers armed with assault rifles have abducted 32 people from the Lere station in Nigeria's southeast Edo state, the governor's office said. Police said in a statement on Sunday that armed herdsmen attacked Tom Ikimi station at 4 p.m. as passengers waited for a train to Wari, an oil hub in the nearby Delta state. The station is 111 kilometers northeast of the state capital, Benin City, and close to the border with a number of states. Some people at the station were shot in the attack, according to police, and the attack is the latest example of the growing insecurity that has spread to nearly every corner of the Africa's most populous country, posing a challenge to the government ahead of the February presidential election. In climate news, California's elite coastal enclave of Montecito has been ordered to evacuate amid a major storm that has landed most of the state under flood watch. Heavy rain was lashing the community near Santa Barbara, home to celebrities such as the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, Harry and Meghan, and Oprah Winfrey. Now, forecasters are warning state residents to brace for a relentless parade of cyclones over the next week. Now, this has already claimed 12 lives and left thousands without power. More than 100,000 people were still without power as of Monday afternoon, and around 90% of Californians, some 34 million people in the most populous U.S. state, were still under flood watch, according to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Now, those able to flee are being told to move to their innermost room or high ground.
Morning, Uganda is still going on, and clearly we're seeing some of the weather changes. Again, we'll keep reminding you, and of course there will also be some changes in the traffic flow, as we will advise just a few minutes from now. We're going for a break. When we get back, we'll be talking about, again, some more regulations that are happening and transformations that are happening in the transport industry. And this morning, we want to focus our attention on the border industry. We know that over time, changes have been happening from last year, and clearly it's still the same pattern, still the same trend. We'll be getting into that after the break. But for now, also, again, like always, Robert, I know you have some wise words to share with us this morning.
Well, the weather keeps on changing, by the way, and with all these changes, you must ensure that your body is well blessed and, of course, empowered to fight off a number of diseases. And how do you do that? You must consume products from Hallelujah Reflexology. Here, what these do is they boost your immune system. Hallelujah Tamarind drink, Hallelujah Ginger tea, Hallelujah banana drink, juice. Now, these are not treatments, they're not medicines, but they're immune boosters. They enable your body to fight off a number of diseases. So what better advice you need at the beginning of this year? Stay healthy, save monies, enjoy life to the fullest.
Amen. We'll be back after this break for the newsreel. Good morning.
Health sector, ICT, agriculture, education and sports, trade and industry. Not forgetting peace and security. This year's event will be held at Kakeka Grounds, Kakumiro Town Council, Kakumiro District. Long live NRM, long live Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, it's a very cold Tuesday morning. We have been blessed by the showers, heavy rains wherever you are. I hope that you don't have to dread through them, but for some of us, we're lucky enough that we have been able to get to where we are going. Good morning, Uganda starts right about now on this Tuesday, 10th of January 2023. How was your night? I know a couple people are still trying to struggle to get out of bed, but hey, it's a work day and you have by all means have to find a way to survive. And I hope as you're planning to make your trip, because yes, this is usually the average time people try to start getting up and getting ready for their day. Carry a sweater, carry along an umbrella, carry yourself a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, or whatever makes you happy, and also will try to keep you warm. Thank you for joining me this morning. My name is Philomena and it is Good Morning Uganda. We will be finding our way together between now and the hour of 9 a.m. and I hope you're doing all right. Well, things are really happening here on the Ugandan scene, quite crazy things. But we start off with some of the sad news happening over there at the Uganda Cancer Institute, where we're looking at a section of workers that have decided to go in for a sit-down demonstration. The question is why? Well, simply because they haven't been paid their December salaries. Now, this is coming in from a section of workers that are on the government payroll, and they believe something has to be done about this issue. But the other day we saw members in parliament during one of their plenary sessions sit down and talk about some of the government workers that haven't yet received their December salaries. And they were talking about how the Ministry of Finance has to start making plans. And they were actually talking about the fact that funds were released, but they haven't yet been given to the people who are supposed to be receiving these monies. Now, the question is, who is supposed to be taking the blame? Who is supposed to be taking the fault? And like I did say, 2023 has to be a new year where we don't have problems like this. People not getting their money or people not getting their salaries in time. That is the issue we are looking at. But when you look at Uganda Cancer Institute, it's a very important health facility. We don't need to have our workers sitting down demonstrating, because now what is the fate of the cancer patients that are undergoing care courtesy of all these medical workers? Again, I will leave this entirely to the Ministry of Health and to all other given and respective stakeholders to sort some of these issues so that we move on to the next problem come February 2023. Well, this morning I am joined by Robert Kirabo, Nyonyintono, and probably he has quite a lot to share about that as well. Good morning, Robert. How are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I'm lovely. I cannot complain.
Well, it's a very cold morning, I must say.
Oh, yes, it is.
It is in January, and we never thought that maybe it would shower this heavily. But of course, usually we are ending one of our seasons, because Uganda, we are blessed, the Pearl of Africa, gifted by nature. We have two rainy seasons. We have the
UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by Get away with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial *165*5*3# to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
The 37th National Resistance Movement Liberation Day is here. This will be celebrated on the 26th of January 2023 under the theme, Our tireless effort to transform Uganda is a promise we can't afford to fail. The NRM government has made a lot of achievements in the different sectors like infrastructure development, health sector, ICT, agriculture, education and sports, trade and industry, not forgetting peace and security. This year's event will be held at Kakeka Grounds, Kakumiro Town Council, Kakumiro District. Long live NRM, long live Uganda.
The festive season is here and it's Christmas in 4G from Airtel. Get the most affordable 4G smartphone in Uganda, now heavily discounted from 250,000 shillings to 150,000 shillings only. Yes! 150,000 shillings only to keep you connected to your loved ones this holiday season.
Dial *175*94# to activate free 1 GB instantly and 100% double data on all weekly and monthly bundles for 3 months. Get one today while stock lasts from the nearest Airtel shop. Happy holidays this festive season with Airtel, the smartphone network.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey! You don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions, and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number, and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS? We talk about it.
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera. Refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Growing up as a child, I used to play the game with balls made out of milk pints, sometimes banana fibers, and at times balls made out of clothes. I had a dream to one day play for the best clubs in the Uganda Premier League, with the hope of one day representing my nation at the big stage. I made it, and now it's time to represent my nation in the CHAN 2022 games in Algeria. I'm glad that UBC TVs and radios will showcase as we fight to bring joy and happiness to the people of Uganda. CHAN 2022, live from Algeria, starting from the 13th of January, is the answer to the call of duty.
Paying your bills the old way.
Let's go, let's go. Just need to buy some power.
Paying your bills with the My Airtel app.
Bro, there's a line.
You have the power in your pocket. The power to instantly pay your bills hassle-free. Unlock that power with the My Airtel app. Visit the App Store or Google Play now.
Oh, you're back.
The Ministry of Health informs the public that there are confirmed cases of Ebola in Uganda. We, however, urge the public not to panic as the situation is being managed. The Ministry of Health further reminds the public to be on the lookout for any persons who may show signs and symptoms of Ebola. These include high body temperature, abdominal pains, diarrhea, vomiting, bleeding from the body openings such as the nose, eyes, and mouth. Please inform the nearest health worker immediately if you see anyone with these signs and symptoms. To prevent Ebola from spreading further, please take the following preventive measures: regular washing of hands with water and soap, avoid handshaking and hugging, avoiding any contact with any suspected Ebola patients. Any person who dies suddenly should not be buried but reported to the nearest health worker or LC1 immediately. For further information, please call the Ministry of Health toll-free number on 0800-100-066 or send a free SMS to your report on 8500. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF and World Health Organization.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
The 37th National Resistance Movement Liberation Day is here. This will be celebrated on the 26th of January 2023 under the theme, Our Tireless Effort to Transform Uganda is a Promise We Can't Afford to Fail. The NRM government has made a lot of achievements in the different sectors like infrastructure development, health sector, ICT, agriculture, education and sports, trade and industry, not forgetting peace and security. This year's event will be held at Kakeka Grounds, Kakumiro Town Council, Kakumiro District. Long live NRM, long live Uganda.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Thank you for joining us on this Good Morning Uganda Newsreel edition on the 10th of January 2022. It's a Tuesday, a very cold one at that, but we'll find a way, we'll figure it out. Well, this morning I am joined by a very special guest and Robert Kirabo. Our special guest this morning is going to be giving us some of the insights and some of the details and probably some of the way forward when it comes to the regulation business. And this is directly in concern with the border industry. Well, this morning we're going to be talking about this regulation, and new information has come to light, of course, courtesy of KCCA. Now, they have gazetted 445 border stages. Now, these are supposed to be accommodating all the borders that we have in this country, and it is estimated that right now, as we stand, we have about 200,000 border people operating. Well, this morning I am joined by Mr. Kanyike Chividi this morning, who is going to be giving us some of the intel. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and for dreading the rain, Mr. Kanyike. I know it has been quite a very confusing morning, but you're here finally, and we're very glad to have you. Now, Mr. Kanyike is the chairperson of border operators in Kampala Central District. And maybe to get straight into it, we did see this information coming in. And KCCA, as an authority, they decided that 445 border stages is what we need as Kampala, as we are now on our way of transforming Kampala into a smart city. And their reason is this is going to create order in the border industry, and we're not saying we don't need order. We need order everywhere if we really want to achieve Kampala as a smart city. But the issue here is 445 border stages to accommodate all these border people we have. If we do our simple mathematics, it clearly says probably we need 400 people. I don't even know if that is applicable, functional. What are your views on that?
Nice to meet you, and I'm very glad to host me on UBC TV. You've already mentioned my names. I'm Kanyike Chividi, the chairperson of Border Kampala Central Division. KCC came out with the number of 445 stages in Kampala. They didn't consult the leaders when they're carrying out their work. Apparently, we have like 3,000 stages.
3,000 right now.
In Kampala Central Division, I have 618 stages. So when you give us 400 stages in the whole Kampala, it's not applicable. Because in Kampala Central Division alone, I have 30,000 leaders. So the work has to be done with the leaders. We have our structure, we have stages, leaders, then we have street leaders in Kampala Central Division here, then we have even the parish leaders. So we need to call out to this exercise together with all those structures. Like in Nasa Road, we have like 30 stages. Nasa Road, they gave us only one stage. A number of like 200 leaders there. you put them on one stage, it's not applicable. So we beg kindly to the executive director and the technical team, at least to consult that, we work together as leaders, so that at least they give us like 2,000 stages, like 2,000, it's we have 3,000 stages.
Yes.
Then like half of it at least, if you were to work together.
That should be about 150,000.
150,000.
Yes, yes.
Now if I tell you give us 400, the old Kampala, maybe they gave us the stage on their land, the KCC land. They told us those gazetted stages, they gazetted their own KCC land. There is the stages which are operating on private lands. So let us consult the private, the owners, our landlords, those one, the bosses of the building.
Yes.
Then we ask them permission. We go back to KCC, we talk to them. Then the gazette also those stages.
Okay, so it's not basically just that they have to put into consideration that there is also private,
there is private
land where you can have stages gazetted. Now, Robert, I don't know, when we talk about regulation, we do understand that we need regulation. And I mean, several plans have been rolled out. From last year, we've seen borders have not been at peace. But I mean, what are some of the relevance we are looking at, speaking of regulation? Yes, it may not have been done the right way, but we also understand that it is necessary for the border industry. I don't know how you feel about this.
Well, the problem I've always had with KCCA and people in authority in this country is I think they tend to underlook certain people. You know, when you go to university, like many have done, and maybe you study urban planning, you study whatever bachelor's degree you get, it doesn't mean that you understand everything and you know everything. No. There are people who are in these jobs and understand them better. When you want to regulate the border industry, minus their leaders, you may not see success. Because one, these people have leaders in whom they believe and trust. The Kawawas of this world, it's Kawawa Chiwawa of Nakawa, and many to mention. And these people have been in this industry for the last 10 years.
20.
Or 20. So, for you when you come as a technical person, and you move in other cities, then you copy and paste, or think you just declare, then have enforcement. There are certain things we have to call in Kampala that we are tired of. We are tired of tear gas. We are tired of running battles. Because these are things that you can foresee because you didn't involve the leadership. I've been in a local leadership, and one thing I've understood, when you use the leadership of a certain group of people, I'll give an example. You're among the leaders of a village. You have a place where people take weed, do what? Police to pick someone there, it is very hard. When you involve their leadership, even the chairman escorts that person to police. Says, we've had enough of you. We are handing you over to police as a group. Rather than saying, police, we are going, it will be chaotic. So, when you underlook leadership, these are the problems you get. Because with the leadership, you sit and plan together. Even they will tell you that, okay, let's have a win-win situation. Like he has said, let's have 15,000. If we've been having 3,000, you get ideas. But sitting in the comfort with a few degree, masters, PhD, some of these things, I think they are foreseen, and we shouldn't have them because I think they are avoidable. Simple mathematics. If you have 200,000, you can't have 445 stages.
Yes.
Much as the borders could be a menace, but I think they could be better planning. Because, you know, border issues are very complicated in this country. Even the political, you know, you're giving gap. I saw the Lord Mayor. You're giving gap to those criticizing you to take advantage of the situation. Because now they have what to speak about. But for me, what I want to ask Chiviri here, when you have KCCA, they will tell you, we are working hand in hand with the leadership. Which leaders are these that they are working hand in hand? At the beginning, I saw, I think it was a meeting at Office of the Prime Minister, and I saw border leadership. So who are those leaders they are working with if they are not you?
They don't consult that. They just give us directives. They invite us and they give us directive.
Oh, so it's not a conversational
it's not
type
a conversation.
of, yes.
They invite us. After invitation, we are going to do this, this and this. We are going to gazette stages. Whom are you gazetting with? We are also technical in our business.
Yes.
Hey, we are technical. I've been riding border almost 20 years.
Yes.
I started in 2013. Now 20 years. Then I know how if at all we can talk to this stage and this one, we remove this one, then we place it the other one. But if at all you consult one stage, like I've mentioned, Savannah Road, they station there one stage, they gazetted there one stage. Savannah Road from ShopRite to Chiseka Market, only one stage.
Yes.
Maybe they want to create parks, border parks. It's not stages. Because if I tell you, you put a park and you put like 200 riders or 3,000 riders on one stage, border they don't operate like a taxi or bus. We operate on stages. I tell we are like we are like what? Like a bird which cuts these white ants. When they see white ants there, they go there.
Yes.
That's our business. When there is no business, we don't go there.
You're only attracted by
the customers.
Yes.
You are seeing a few border riders on in Kololo because number few. But downtown here we have very many because of the customers.
Okay.
So we don't want this industry to be like it is, but we need to be regulated. When they called us, with the Prime Minister was there. They just direct us. So we are going to sensitize you. You go to driving schools. We want that one.
Okay.
But we need to program these things step by step. After registration, we go to gazettement. After gazettement, we go to uniforming. After uniforming, we can go to trainings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you talk, getting back to the leadership, you did talk about, I think there were 3 categories. You talked about street leaders.
We have stage leaders.
Stage leaders.
Yeah.
Then the street.
Then we go to street leaders.
Then the parish.
The parish, then division.
Could you maybe break down some of the responsibilities of some of all those categories? Who does what exactly and where do they operate from?
Stage leaders, they manage the stage.
Okay.
Their issues, smartness, ordinance at that level. Okay. Then street leaders, they coordinate. If I tell someone can snack a bag, then they coordinate so that they can interact. They
intervene and yes.
It's so that it can be caught. Then the parish, it manages all the stages within the parish. Then the division will manage stages and parishes and
so it's a hierarchy, right from the
from
stage,
the stages,
yes.
Division, then to district. Now, as per now, our district chairperson is Frank Mawich.
Well, Chiviri, there is a belief that there's so much money in the border industry, yet government is gaining nothing. And when we see all this enforcement is on that background that you chairpersons, stage chairpersons, parish, street leaders make a hell a lot of money from this industry. You're not taxed in any way apart from the fuel you take and maybe when you're purchasing these motorcycles. So government literally gains nothing from the border industry. What do you say about that?
It gains taxes, obviously, you have said, through fuel and buying and purchasing things. But in terms of monthly payment or monthly taxation, it's the weakness of the government. We are ready to pay.
They just don't have established structures on how they can extract the money.
How they can collect the money. Let them engage us. And we agree about how much we can pay. Is it helping us? We are ready to pay. Either we want to pay like a KCC revenues.
Okay.
But there's also a belief that you're a notorious group or category of people that are very problematic
that's
to
not
the
manageable at any
and also
point.
KCCA. And also so much you've become very political that now you think that is your escape route. That every time you want to talk about border, at the back of their minds, they know like my friend Chihuahua. I use him so much because Kawawa, he's I think an extremist in one way. He's a man who say ebyo tebijja kukola mu Kampala nga wendi nanze mukulembeze wa board nakawa, literally meaning that will not work.
It's whichever strategy you come up with. Yes.
KCC officials talk, so that over a time you've become this category of people and you're confident that instead of accepting and working along with enforcement and city planners, for you, you know, we are just going to, you're going to be resentment, you're going to refuse that, and doesn't work. So anyone knows that these are stubborn categories. These chaps, you must apply force. If you want to have them as part of the planning process, it won't see the light of day.
People, they are seeing us as notorious. But when you squeeze someone in anything, because whichever thing they bring in border, they just squeeze us. So the better way is to talk with the leaders.
Yes.
We sit down together with all the authorities, not orders. We are not soldiers. You don't give us orders. We sit together, we plan together for the betterment of Uganda.
Okay. Well, still speaking of regulation, I also do understand that the Police Traffic and Safety Directorate has given border people 3 days. I think the deadline is 12th, which is Thursday this week, and they said come Thursday, as a border operator, if you don't have any documentation, and I mean this is again, this is what we have been talking about from last year, because now we are seeing very many border people wearing the helmets, wearing the reflector jackets, but now they're looking at the technical necessary requirements, for example, licensing and all of that, and they said by Thursday, if you are any border person operating on the road here in Kampala, and probably they're starting from here, and you don't have any proper document that should allow you to operate on the roads, we are going to take away your border. Traffic police is going to be all over the place. Now, we've seen a lot of resistance towards this, and from last year, it's not just this year. Yes, there's some border people who jumped on board, and we are seeing them, but the resistance, where does it come from? Are there issues that we do not know about? Are there loopholes in this whole? Because at the end of the day, me as a customer, me as an ordinary Ugandan, I'm thinking this is for the safety of the clients, of the border people themselves. But that friction and the resistance, where is it coming from? And again, I don't know if these 3 days will be enough for the border people. We have to actually attain the documents. Now it's no longer about the reflector jackets and the helmets, because we have done that. We are seeing border people doing the right thing. Now that, how are we going to get through it?
First of all, I have to thank the director of the traffic, because according to the traffic law, anyone to drive or to be behind the wheel has to be with a driving license. That's an act.
Yes, it's by law.
By law. So we carried out sensitization training of border how to get requirements. Even KCC last year came out with the training of all border leaders.
Yes.
Which men of you shunned?
Which men of
us? Go, they refused. I mean,
the problem is politicking. There are some people who knows all the laws, but they how can I frame it? But never because if at all you are a leader and you know to be behind the wheel, you have to be with the driving permit. Then when they come out with such exercise, they say, you don't go there, they are cheating you. 65,000
yes,
for free. It was photo training. Why I thanks director of the traffic? He called us, and we moved step by step. We first with helmet and reflector jacket. After that, he said, next year we are going to be on this step of the driving license. Because most 99% of the riders they don't have.
They actually don't.
They don't have.
The other day we were looking at the
driving
statistics.
permit.
Yes.
Even maybe like last training there were 10,000 riders who went for the training. Out of?
The estimated 200,000. Yes.
That's a big number. That's why you are seeing too many accidents. They don't know even one who signpost on the road.
That's true.
So what should we do?
But also
the problem of getting a driving permit, I agree with my colleague, it's high compared to because like it costs like 400,000 a permit.
Yes.
Ate boda wemba neraba I'm like inferior ndikatono. Wemba nga trailer mitwala na. At least even the government should deduct the press costs of what? The permit. Like the Prime Minister said. They promised us to cut the fees of the permit up to now. People are waiting. The permit of mitwalo kuminesat. So
actually, that's why I wanted to Philo. I think government agencies, ministries must work together sometimes to avoid confusion. I know it is by law that anyone to ride a motorbike, you must have a driving license.
Yes.
But I remember very, very well that meeting at Office of the Prime Minister. And other meetings that proceeded that had even General Katumba Wamala. It had Director of Traffic, Lawrence Niwabine. They said, and that was last year. They were on safety of, they said helmet, reflector jacket. But then they mentioned that for the permits, for the border people, they are working as line ministries, as stakeholders there, to ensure that they give them permits at a lower cost.
Yes.
That was an agreed position. And these people were excited. I remember them clapping because they assured them that let's have the helmets, let's have the reflector jackets for your safety as a rider, that they can see you. Then in case you have an accident, your head is protected because of baguyunga. So that was the position. Now as these people are still waiting, those that don't have, for the amount that the ministry, the stakeholders are going to come up with and say for any border rider, you're going to pay, maybe I think it was there was an assumption of about 130,000. Then you go, because it's about pay that, go for a test. And they will pass. These guys, much as some of them are lousy and do a lot of funny things on the road, but they
actually know what they should be doing.
They will
on
pass
the road.
The tests.
Yes.
Maybe signs that they can fail because there you don't know road signs. But what happened? Now, before that sees the light of day, then here comes Nampima and says in 3 days. With the Uganda, we know. I credit those guys at this down here, railway grounds, that office. They are very smart. They do their job very well. I got my permit. They are very classical. They are excellent. But 3 days, you're expecting someone to have around 400,000, who is a border rider. You're expecting these people, the influx. There's no way you can give an ultimatum to get a document if someone didn't have in 3 days.
So these some
of these things
we need
in
clarity.
Country.
This information was not passed to you even last year. You were not told prior to that maybe next year in this specific month we will be now looking for the border people who don't have this and this and this and this, or did they just generalize, or this is also coming on short notice?
Why I thanked Director Traffic Nwabine. He called the leaders.
Yes.
Then we agreed. But we agreed on principle. There are some border riders who have learner's permit. There are some border riders who have driving school certificates. Waiting for the other promise. So I don't know what they are going to do. Are they going to look for permit only, or even they will be
other supporting documents? Yes.
We don't know because we just hear the announcement. So we need clarity on that
Well,
before.
The clarity
because
is going to come on Thursday. On Thursday.
Because we have been waiting for deduction of the amount of the driving permit.
Yes.
People are waiting for that. So, less the Prime Minister, because the one who spearheaded the negotiation of reducing the permit, even I was there with the Minister of Finance. He was there in the meeting, discussing the issue. So they would discuss this issue up to when? We need to know. Bina soboka oba tebisoboke.
Kyemugenda olanga bakwata.
Anti ngambe eri mu permit. Is it possible?
Because your people are willing to buy.
How we are willing?
Yes, to get these permits.
Most of our rider, like 50%, they have certificate of driving schools.
Yes.
Waiting to get to acquire permit at low cost. So we need clarity on that before announcing the operations.
Well, we will leave that entirely to the stakeholders. If you promise to cut it from 400,000 to 130,000 to make it more affordable for the riders, coming in, of course, from the chairperson of the border operators here in Kampala and Central Division, they're willing to get those permits. They're only waiting for you to pull through on the promise you made. So they're not as notorious as we actually thought they are, maybe. Maybe not. As we're trying to wind this one down, Chiviri, what would be your final words and who are you sending them to make sure that we work hand in hand, we meet each other, we get a middle ground from both the border tour operators and also the stakeholders, the authorities, the people in power, in positions of power in regards to this?
Firstly, we need one voice, as we did as leaders, because all the government officials were complaining, you are not one. This association come, another one come, another one come, you are fighting. Then for us, we came together. Me, I am leading almost 38 associations within the Kampala Central Division here, 38 associations. So we sat together, the association, then they elected me. The same issue to Mawedje and other group. There is no other voices within the border industry. So we do need that voice to go to the ministries or the ministries. Like KCC has to be talking the same message with the Minister of Works and Transport. And they have to move together. There is a Minister of Security. They are there. Bakuita kubuzabuza waliyo abantu abalina akakwate ku security busanga side mirror busanga talina side mirror manya ya DPC so ebyo ebintu ebetaaga nabo nga they have one voice.
Yes,
kitegeera senga tebaba na voice emu ujja kwekango nayogera kiki they move on the same page. Kesisi kyeyogera nga nono kyayogera nono
traffic directorate kyeyogera. Yes,
kesisi begenda kukola nti we are going to gazette stages nolinga amanyi kwata sobola genda mu field without enforcement.
Yes,
on the support of the police. Ebyo twetaaga nga bonna boogera eddoboozi eri. Then Minister of Works and Transport ye licensing officer nabo nga boogera eddoboozi eri nti kaakati tukkirize these people have driving school license oba document bagira bagenda bonna batule wamu like we did. They come up with one voice.
Okay.
Then I urge also my riders boda bannange okulaba kyebatwogerako wano nti tulina empisa embi tukola ki ekyokulaba nga nakyo tukigezaako naddala abakulembeze bano ku mitendera gyonna babeere nga bakkakkanya amaloboozi tukyateeseganya n'ekitongole nga tamala kuvayo kwekalakasa kuba ekigendo tubeerera ekizibu kwe kulowooza okwekalakasa naye kibaleetera obuzibu bano abatuli emabega.
Okay. Thank you so much, Kanyike Chiviri over here. He's the chairperson for border operators here in the Central Division. Clearly, there is need for coordinated and synchronized communication systems at all levels, especially when it comes to the leadership. But there is also need for the leadership to have these to have their submissions listened to by KCCA and all the other stakeholders. So this is a 50-50. It shouldn't be a 90 to 10% kind of arrangement. I believe with all of that, we'll have our border industry in order and finally achieve the goal of having Kampala being transformed into a smart city. We're going for a break. When we get back, we'll be looking at some of our stories in our big papers. I'm looking at the Daily Monitor, Daily Nation, and of course, the New Vision. Good morning.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Paying your bills the old way.
Let's go. Just need to buy some power.
Paying your bills with the My Airtel app.
Bro, there's a line.
You have the power in your pocket. The power to instantly pay your bills hassle-free. Unlock that power with the My Airtel app. Visit the App Store or Google Play now.
Oh, you're back.
The 37th National Resistance Movement Liberation Day is here. This will be celebrated on the 26th of January 2023 under the theme, Our tireless effort to transform Uganda is a promise we can't afford to fail. The NRM government has made a lot of achievements in the different sectors like infrastructure development, health sector, ICT, agriculture, education and sports, trade and industry, not forgetting peace and security. This year's event will be held at Kakeka Grounds, Kakumiro Town Council, Kakumiro District. Long live NRM, long live Uganda.
The festive season is here and it's Christmas in 4G from Airtel. Get the most affordable 4G smartphone in Uganda, now heavily discounted from 250,000 shillings to 150,000 shillings only. Yes! 150,000 shillings only to keep you connected to your loved ones this holiday season.
Dial *175*94# to activate free 1 GB instantly and 100% double data on all weekly and monthly bundles for 3 months. Get one today while stock lasts from the nearest Airtel shop. Happy holidays this festive season with Airtel, the smartphone network.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Now let's take a look at some of the stories that are making the highlights in our big papers, in our dailies, the New Vision, Daily Monitor, Daily Nation, and of course the Citizen. Starting off with the New Vision, I have never met Saleh, coming in from Lukwago. Well, FDC to investigate Lord Mayor's links with the general, and also looking at a father brother Anatoly Waswa buried and finally laid to rest. City roadworks kick off next month, according to KCCA Executive Director Dorothy Chisaka. And also taking a look at a Sema Properties boss charged over demolition of old woman's property. Now, Namuganza Sensha Committee writes to Minister. Again, that's another story that is still going on. And Freedom City deaths, looking at Sebalamu questioned. All of that in the New Vision this morning. And taking it to the Daily Monitor, strike leaves cancer patients in trouble. Now, hundreds of cancer patients yesterday struggled to access life-saving services at the Uganda Cancer Institute in Mulago, Kampala, after many of the staff went on a sit-down strike over delayed December salaries. Now, truck drivers protest extortion at Elegu border, and this is, of course, in a standoff where we're looking at some of these truck drivers from Eldoret, Kenya, during several interviews that were held by this paper, talking about their plight when it comes to the extortion cases. Police to crack down on borders and bus operators. FDC want General Saleh to clear air over Lukwago. Government designing new exam papers for senior 4 students. And in the Freedom City Stampede, what mall owner told police of a New Year Eve event. All of that in the Daily Monitor.
And I have the New Vision right here, starting off with a story on Namuganza Censure Committee rights to minister. That is a detailed story on page 7. And looking at a Freedom City death, Selalamu questioned. That is also a story on page 6. I also give you a big headline right there. I have never met Saleh Lukwago. Now FDC to investigate Lord Mayor's links with the general. That is also detailed on pages 4 and 5. They give you a picture right there, and of course showing brother Anatoly Waswa, who was buried, and they give you details right there. But also in most stories, City Roads works kick off next week, according to Chisaka. That is a story on page 5. And Sema Properties boss charged over demolition of old woman's property. That is a story right there for you as well to catch in today's New Vision.
Now, the Daily Nation graft roadblock for job seekers. Poor score. Kenya was ranked 124th on Transparency International's corruption index. Proposed law changes, there will be no place for corrupt people in public service at any level. Not only will everybody seeking employment in national or county governments get vetted by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, but the agency's recommendation will be binding on employers. Spending too much time online is bad for your brain. Social media danger to teenagers. They're giving you a number of highlights on that. Winners and losers in Ruto's new order, and looking at high season still on for Mombasa hotels as families extend holidays. Tabostan, now Gachagua turns the heat on Uhuru allies, and hope at last for Saiton investors. That and many others in the Daily Nation this morning. And also looking at the Citizen, Tanzania SGR hot race for regional trade control. Tanzania's standard gauge railway network is poised to intensify competition for trade routes in East Africa, linking landlocked countries with the Indian Ocean. Talking about business progress over there. What Treasury stands to gain from Dr. Natu's experience. Dead set for new CNG prices as well. Now, all of that and many more, you could look at the Citizen and get yourself a copy to see, wow, Arusha is getting back to business amid a crash crunch as well. And also looking at some of the highlights of the international demonstration. Bolsonaro backers storm Brazil government buildings. Now, taking it away from that, looking at some of the traffic updates this morning. Now, would be expecting again traffic on some parts of the city because of the rains. Obviously, like we know, there is always a relation. So do not be surprised if you actually come across or stumble upon some heavy traffic. But before we get into all of that, again, there is quite an announcement that is coming in from the stakeholders concerning Kampala flyover construction and the road upgrading project, which of course will be causing some of the road diversion on several parts, especially when we are looking at the Queensway or Entebbe temporary road diversion. Now, the Uganda National Roads Authority and the contractor of the Kampala flyover Construction and Road Upgrading Project are informing the general public that due to project works, there will be temporary traffic flow changes, and this will be along a section of Queensway and Entebbe Road, and they've given quite a number of directions, just a few of them here and there. The Entebbe Road section between Shell Clock Tower Junction and Nakasero construction and Nakasero Mosque shall be temporarily closed to vehicles that are trying to access the city center. Now, Silk Road will allow vehicles from the city center towards Clock Tower Junction, and also take note that traffic flow from the city center will not be affected by these changes and will proceed through the area normally, and then there will be controlled traffic flow to and from the city center. Now, to also minimize the traffic congestion during this period, motorists from Chibuye roundabout are actually advised to access the city center through the following routes. Looking at Lubiri Ring Road, looking at Lubega Road, motorists from Gaba Road are actually advised to use Mokwano Road, and motorists from Usafi roundabout, Mengo Hill Road can access the city center through Benchiwanuka Street or other connecting roads. Now, also during this period, the motorists are advised to avoid the Clock Tower Junction whenever possible, and you have been requested to obey traffic management guidelines while, of course, driving around this area. And for any inconveniences that have been caused, apologies have been sent through. So if this is always your route, if this is your daily route, you are advised to follow accordingly. Make sure that you don't find yourself on the wrong side of the road. So please take note. We need to cut this traffic, but also we need to do it safe and sound. That's it from the traffic updates this morning. Mollen is coming in with more climate and of course weather news to give you the weather forecast. Of course, as this day goes by, will it rain, will it shine? All of these questions she'll be answering as we go on. I want to wish you a wonderful Tuesday morning. I am Philomena Masco. Good morning.
Well, thank you very much, Philomena, and I'll take it from that. We continue to see devastating news coming in from California. That is after several days with a storm. Now, this is inclusive of the severe winds and, of course, gusting across the area so far have caused damages. Now, what we do know is that this has extended up to the areas of Santa Barbara, Santa Maria, and of course, part of that towards Los Angeles. And we do know that the numbers reported right now, as of 3 hours ago, they're indicating at least over 100,000 homes already out of power, and 12 people have died due to the storm that is across California. Now, what is also coming through is that at least several homes have also had a lot of destruction regarding the winds that are also associated with this storm. And also people are starting to evacuate from the areas, especially due to the fact that the weather authorities are indicating and forecasting that they could be in for more of these conditions coming through. And now what is more concerning at this point is that there is also an atmospheric river that has been forecast to also get into the area. Now, when we talk about atmospheric rivers, we're talking about storms that arrive in terms of river, of a narrowed state in the sky, dumping massive amounts of rains and causing flooding. Of course, this could trigger mudslides, and that obviously will result to loss of lives and enormous damages to property. And this is what is being looked at in the forecast. And of course, they've also had to deal with most of the storm surges. That means that that has been a result, that is what has caused the power shortages in the area. What we do know is that President Joe Biden has declared at least a few days in the US to look into how people are dealing with the storm, and of course also mourning for the death. And what came out just also a few hours ago is that authorities are on ground and they're making sure that they can be able to evacuate people who are in harm's way, especially for the areas that could be looking at more damages as the forecast continues. Now, California, this is not its first rodeo at storms. This has been quite an area that has been heavily hit by tropical cyclones, looking at most of the storms. And also, according to NOAA, they're saying that California should brace itself for more of those coming through, because we could also be looking at a season where they have more tropical cyclones in the area. And of course, that is very concerning, looking at the fact that there has been a lot of damages, especially when it comes to severe weather events in the US. And I think this year just takes it to another level, where we continue to see most of those in the forecast, and of course more damages. And obviously this also comes to a state where you're looking at business that are stranded due to the fact that most of the power has been cut off and they're unable to cope with such conditions. Now, on the other hand, we're talking about how to eliminate this, because the frequency is evident. We continue to see most of these extreme weather events. But one of the countries that have been actually making amends with their climate action is India. And yesterday they did come out to say they're going to be putting a lot of money towards ensuring that there is enough climate action. They're talking about net zero, and in terms of reducing their carbon footprint, they're talking about $100 million that has been set aside for India to deal with climate change. And of course, that comes at a time where they also did talk about having a panel with the governments that are within the region, especially seeing as Asia has also been worst hit by most of these extreme weather events. We're talking about typhoons, and recently what has been happening in Pakistan, also looking at the prolonged drought. So it does come at a good time when they need to look at additional investment that is of up to $100 billion that will be towards to meeting their goals that have been set aside for 2070. They know that they can't get there to net zero if this is followed. That is up to 2070. That is where they've also given their limit in saying that they could actually do this. Of course, we do know that also India has been dealing with a lot when it comes to storms. And of course, that has also claimed a lot of lives, and that adds to some of the countries that have already declared their targets for 2030 and beyond. That adds to the category of the US. China also did come up late targets for 2030, and we did see also Europe, most of the countries in Europe, Germany, Netherlands, coming out to say they have laid targets for 2070. So that kind of builds a momentum as we look at more climate action, and now India is setting for 2070. It comes in as good news when you look at climate action across the areas. Now, we'll also look at what is coming in from the UN, where the UN Secretary General yesterday did make a call to governments to continue on their fight and climate change. And of course, this was during a summit that is in Pakistan, looking at climate resilience. Now, Secretary General Antonio Guterres did speak at a news conference yesterday, where he did emphasize that there is need to control what is happening across the world. Of course, this was after talking about what is happening in Pakistan with the floods on the rampant, and of course also the report that did come out yesterday does indicate that there has been a lot of calamities in Pakistan, rendering the country vulnerable, and of course it has also not received enough funding. Now, he did call upon richer countries to provide adequate funding to make sure that some of these countries that are vulnerable to climate change are able to cope with the changing environment. And of course, this is where we also talk about the fact that there was a pledge that was made at COP27 for richer countries to do contribute a huge sum of money towards some of these vulnerable nations, and Pakistan could actually much benefit from that if those monies come through. But also, it's no secret that most of these monies that are pledged, like at the COPs like that, COP27, you do look at the fact that the way they come in is actually not the way you would expect it. It comes after, so we deal with the aftermath, but nothing to prepare for with some of these extreme weather events. Away from that, we'll go ahead and take a look at what is happening across the country. Now, the forecast for this morning does indicate some of the rainy conditions that are expected for today. We could be looking at quite a relief in terms of wet weather activities for most parts of the country. Now also we are seeing more of the rains that are forecast across most areas, especially within the southern part of the country. Now we take a look at that is the eastern part of Central, where we have Ruwero, Woblenzi, we do have Bururi, Nakaseke and Nakasungula in that category. We're looking at rainy conditions for this morning. Temperatures starting off quite chilly. That will be at 25 degrees centigrade. Southwestern Uganda, we're looking at Mbarara, Ibanda, Bushenyi and Ribirizi. We are forecasting isolated rains as well. That will be across several places, and also looking at more of that, starting off with a chilly morning. That will be at 24 degrees centigrade. We're looking at the central part of Lake Victoria Basin. That is where we have Mukono, Kampala, Entebbe, as well as Wakiso, where we're forecasting rains as well. That will be starting off quite chilly. We already have rains in the area, and that system might also be crossing over into the afternoon. We could be looking at more rains over there, and of course temperatures are also likely to remain equally low as those cloudy conditions are still over the area. We're looking at the central part of northern Uganda, where we have Gulu, Kitgum, Padel. We're looking at mostly rainy conditions also for you this morning. That will be across several places, starting off with a pleasant 26 degrees centigrade, but most of those rains will be clearing later as the day progresses. Now we're looking at more of that also towards the western part of the country. We're looking at southwestern Uganda, especially starting off with more of those rainy conditions that are also likely to be affecting the area. And of course, that will be clearing later in the afternoon. So yeah, it does come in as good news, but we could also be looking at a similar situation even tomorrow. Thereafter, we might be looking at a clearing trend. So yes, do embrace the rains as they are still here, but also remembering that it's still a dry season. Most of these are short-lived, so don't be quick to put anything, especially in regards to agriculture, because the rains are going to be short-lived. That is it in terms of weather updates for this morning. Thank you very much for being with us. My name is Mollen, Kenyena. I want to wish you a good day.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
Gatawo with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transactions. Dial star 165 star 5 star 3 hash to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it.
Growing up as a child, I used to play the game with balls made out of milk pints, sometimes banana fibers, and at times balls made out of clothes. I had a dream to one day play for the best clubs in the Uganda Premier League, with the hope of one day representing my nation at the big stage. I made it, and now it's time to represent my nation in the CHAN 2022 games in Algeria. I'm glad that UBC TVs and radios will showcase as we fight to bring joy and happiness to the people of Uganda. CHAN 2022, live from Algeria, starting from the 13th of January, is the answer to the call of duty.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body, because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
The 37th National Resistance Movement Liberation Day is here. This will be celebrated on the 26th of January 2023 under the theme, Our tireless effort to transform Uganda is a promise we can't afford to fail. The NRM government has made a lot of achievements in the different sectors like infrastructure development, health sector, ICT, agriculture, education and sports, trade and industry, not forgetting peace and security. This year's event will be held at Kakeka Grounds, Kakumiro Town Council, Kakumiro District. Long live NRM, long live Uganda.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera. Refrain from unnecessary engagement with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
The Ministry of Health informs the public that there are confirmed cases of Ebola in Uganda. We, however, urge the public not to panic as the situation is being managed. The Ministry of Health further reminds the public to be on the lookout for any persons who may show signs and symptoms of Ebola. These include high body temperature, abdominal pains, diarrhea, vomiting, bleeding from the body openings such as the nose, eyes, and mouth. Please inform the nearest health worker immediately if you see anyone with these signs and symptoms. To prevent Ebola from spreading further, please take the following preventive measures: regular washing of hands with water and soap, avoid handshaking and hugging, avoiding any contact with any suspected Ebola patients. Any person who dies suddenly should not be buried but reported to the nearest health worker or LC1 immediately. For further information, please call the Ministry of Health toll-free number on 0800 100-066 or send a free SMS to your report on 8500. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF and World Health Organization.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different, even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Ginger Tea drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Live from Now Avenue in UBC Studios. This is Good Morning Uganda.
From 6:30 till now, you're with us. Thank you so much for being part of the show. I'm Robert Kirabo Nyonyintono. This is Good Morning Uganda. Now, welcome to this sweet segment. Why do I want to use the word sweet segment? Because today it is all about good news to Uganda. Good news, I must say, we are going to be celebrating and jubilating. And with me in studios, I bring good news with my guest to Ugandans. first of all. So be prepared to hear which good news are we talking about. Well, the good news is that in the next 12 hours, if no Ebola case is registered, Uganda is going to be declared Ebola-free. Isn't that good news? The people of Kasanda and Mubende, who once went even through a lockdown, then an extension, Ebola, we shall be declared Ebola-free. Thank you, Ugandans. Thank you, Ministry of Health. Thank you, our President, the wise leadership of His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, that we've gotten this far. We must recall that it was on the 20th of September when it was declared that Uganda had registered her first case of Ebola, the Sudan strain. That was in Mubende. If you remember, then measures were put in place. We went in panic mode because it was said that even more people had already contracted the virus. Now, from then, we saw measures being put in place. We even saw Mubende and Kasanda go into a lockdown. After some time, we began registering success. Of course, about other 7 districts registered cases of Ebola. Now, about a month there, we began seeing victory. And as we speak today, if we make it tomorrow, that is in the next 12 hours, then we shall have completed 42 days without any new case of Ebola, without any contact that they are tracing because of Ebola. And according to World Health Organization, if you complete those 42 days without any new case, then you're declared Ebola-free. Kudos to Ugandans. However, we also have registered death. 55 people succumbed to Ebola. The good news is we had also 87 people recover from Ebola. Those that contracted the virus were 142. Then probable death, those are people who could have died before the experts came and found out what could have killed them, but they suspect it could have been Ebola. Well, those were 22. But joining me on set is a man, I must say, has been on the forefront, away from the foot soldiers, the doctors, but carrying out information, speaking on various media stations. Here he had made it home. Every time the Aradis of Mubende, they would be here on UBC TV, waking up very early to tell people how best we can protect ourselves against Ebola. And he is the Director, Health Services, Public Health, Dr. Daniel Chabayinze. Doctor, you're welcome, more so now when you're coming to deliver the good news.
Thank you, our presenter, Mr. Kirabo, for having us, and good morning, Ugandans.
First, I want to begin on a personal. How does it feel that now, if nothing happens, if you don't get any case in these remaining 12 hours, you as medics, you as people who have been carrying out this gospel, how does it feel now that we are about to be declared Ebola-free?
It's like you've been playing a football match, you have scored, you are the leading team, you are 1 goal away, higher than your opponent, and you're waiting for the 90th minute's whistle. That's the feeling and the anxiety. You are already celebrating, but you're saying, oh, I wish nothing happens. I wish there is no other opportunity for the opponent to score. You even start playing by the corners and time wasting to make sure the ball is far away for you to receive the victory. It's like an athlete runner. You are about to cross the finishing line. You see you are ahead of the line, and you are sure that everything is on your side. We are celebrating. It's like you've been fighting a war, and during that war, you are about to be declared. You are about to raise your flag. It's like independence. They are about to raise the Ugandan flag and say, victory is in your hands. You know you've already gotten the victory, but anything can happen before then. So as you anticipate, as you wait, we are eagerly happy for where we are at the moment as a country.
Well, let's look at, currently we know that you don't have anyone in isolation, don't have any contact you're tracing, don't have anything like maybe probable cases. give us the situation as it is, as we await for that final whistle.
As we await for the final declaration, it's less than 12 hours now. As we see peak now, the minister dropping off. So it's countdown. Today is the very 42nd day. We know we had prepared infrastructure as a country. We had hospital, Ebola treatment units set up in Entebbe, in Mulago. We have a facility in one of the fields here in Mulago. We have a treatment unit constructed in Kasanda. We have a treatment unit in Madudu where the epicenter was. There's a big treatment unit in Mubende at the Ministry of Health Works. We have a treatment unit in Mubende hospitals. So those were designated Ebola treatment units or centers. We have a capacity of 338 bed capacity. We had expected a surge of cases. That is preparedness. We use the approach of saying no regrets in the response. You overplan, you prepare for the worst case scenario, but you do your effort to make sure nothing gets to that magnitude. But you don't want to be overwhelmed. We have all trained health workers. Now they have been on standby. Today they are going to be told, pack your things and go home. They have been resting for the last 22 days, just waiting for any signal. They are rehearsing, they are going through the protocols, the simulation and exercise, training other people, others going on leave, others coming back. So they are in idle mode. We have the supply chain, the labs, they have gone through their protocols, they have cleaned their labs, they are sure nothing left undone. So the training goes on, the practice goes on, even when you don't have a case. Because remember, everything else was being set up in a rush epidemic response mode. Now we are able to take one look at a time, draw back and say, how have we prepared here? How did we handle this? So when the declaration is done, by the way, we followed up 3,800 contacts, over close to 4,000 people who were part of the people we had written down, checked on to make sure none of them had the disease. And these were in different districts. So the situation as we speak, there is no patient in the hospital. There is no person on our contact list. The last infection we got out of hospital or within was on 12th November. The last person who had a contact, even a health worker, who ever touched a patient as we discharged was 30th November. So we've walked this journey with everybody, counting down slowly but surely. So October was the last month when we had spikes in cases. We had exported cases in Kampala. In Kampala, we eventually got 18 cases. We had cases which went to Jinja. We had 3 cases. We had a case which went to Masaka. You can imagine all these fires were put out. We had sporadic cases in many places. And we know that these patients passed in multiple districts. Even the one who came to Chirudu Hospital passed through Luwero, passed through Kasanda, had been to Mubende. We know that some people in Kampala went to other parts of the districts, went to Kawempe, went to Seguku. All these fire points, simmering guns, were all extinguished. We thank God. We can't thank anybody but God, because this is purely a miracle.
Well, miracles still happen in the 21st century and being said by a medic. Now, there is a number that is going to be popping up on your screen. I want you to be part of the topic of discussion this morning as a Ugandan, when Uganda is going to be declared Ebola free. We pray that these hours elapse and we make that achievement, because there are even people, I was speaking to some people in the tourism sector who told me there are people who cancelled bookings, tourists that were coming in Uganda. Once they had Ebola declared, they cancelled their bookings, or they postponed them to a later date when the country will be declared free. So this means so much to our economy. Most when we are coming from COVID-19, then there came in Ebola. It was all a complication and it had an impact on people's earnings, to be honest. But just a reminder, the number is 0709602592. That is the number where you can send me a text message or send us a WhatsApp message. That is the number. It will be coming up on your screen, 070960 2592. On the topic of discussion, Uganda to be declared Ebola free in just hours from now. Now, doctor, the biggest question, yes, you know, someone was telling me scientists don't believe in miracles, but we want to know, much as the hand of God prevailed, what are some of those factors that you can allude this success to?
One of the key elements in responding to an epidemic is clear leadership. You can have all the ammunition, you can have all the stuff, but they must have an avid, well-trained commander, and that is leadership. So we are so fortunate as the Ministry of Health to have our current leadership as is in place. They are very consultative, they are very resolute when they make a decision, they are very upbeat for their job. They'll sacrifice to be in meetings up to midnight, but be in office at 8 in the morning to continue where the journey was. Some will still be in meetings and on calls to make everything is coordinated. So that was the key success factor. The second one is the community response. The people where the diseases were so instrumental in bringing this disease to the end. Because how do they know that the disease has started? By them reporting, coming to the health facilities, and the first patient who said, back in my village, people are dying with similar symptoms. Can you go and check what is happening? So the disease started in the community, but the community leadership themselves have been able to mobilize the people. The people in the communities, Mobende and Kasanda, have been able to tell their colleagues, please stay home, or please don't move. We are all under restricted movement. Or when we tell them, don't participate in that burial, tell us how to come and support you. So it is the community engagement, it is the leadership at the community. Those were key two things. The others are add-ons. The health workers working on the people who are sick, providing the care is an addition. That's what is expected to be done in our jobs. So that is our work. But to facilitate our work, we needed the two immediate support from the leadership and the community agreeing to believe what we say. Because if they had become skeptical of what we're saying, still believing there is no Ebola, it's a fabricated disease, like some of the people who have never been to those centers say. But they believed what we saw. They were able to see accountability. When there was mistakes done in the community, they saw the repercussions. And they said, we will all perish if we don't believe that the people who have come to respond are doing it in good faith for the rest of the country. Those were key success factors. Others can be like we had support, we had donors who gave us the kits, we have government which gave us resources, we had the president speaking to everybody, that's part of leadership. We had the trained people, the people who gave their facilities, people who donated their fields to be used for treatment centers. All those enhanced and augmented our response. But the first two things were clear leadership and also community accepting to be led.
That said, Doctor, we seem to be doing things in a panic mode. When Ebola broke out, I'll give an example. When we had issues of salaries, they would tell us, well, we couldn't wait for paperwork to be done. People had to go and work. At one point, we called for a vaccine, trial vaccine for the Sudan that is trained, which arrived in the country. Then it came. Now we didn't have people on whom to apply this. You know, it seemed to be like there is so much in managing this that looked like as if we had never experienced any outbreak of Ebola in this country of this magnitude. Why did we see things being done in a rush? Certain things seem to be not coordinated very well in this fight, much as we could say we've won.
Yes, thank you very much. Epidemics are sudden. If fire started in this building, even if you have fire extinguishers, even if you knew you have assembly points where you go when there's a fire, even if you have an alarm going off, anything which is sudden and causes death causes alarm. So to the world, we appear to be panicking. Okay? To us, we saw it as immediate response. When an accident happens, you rush. You will make some mistakes as you rush. Some of you will touch blood of an infected person when you are rushing to help. As soon as somebody is collapsing, you are all trying to resuscitate. You've seen when something happens, everybody gravitates towards the response point. So that's what you are seeing. And it's a natural response to any emergency. But after you've reached the patient, you say, oh, by the way, what is the case? What else do we have to have in place? Remember, we've been responding to COVID. So all the support response were in place, but for a different disease element. We have national task force, district task force, surveillance pillars, case management, they are all in place. But now the trend of response has changed. Remember, we need to put on the full coveralls for us to touch a single Ebola patient. You cannot put on alone and put off alone. You need 2 people. So all these experts had to be assembled in just a few hours. So it appears as though we are panicking, but Ebola experts are resident in Uganda. Wherever there is an outbreak, anywhere in the world, the experts are sourced from our country. So remember, some are treating in Gulu, others are working in Masaka. So all these have to be alerted, assembled, report to duty as your paperwork starts. You talked about people saying not being paid after response. Government has a system of payment. Even if I employed somebody today, I won't be ready to give you your payment tomorrow. We pay, you know, the pay cycle is 30 days. So is in the health work system. If the pay rate is 30 days, so you still wait to go into a payroll, it has to be prepared. Meanwhile, you are treating. And for us, the professionals, our code of response to any grievance is not in the media. Unless somebody is trying to incite and come up with a story, which are very sensational. You know, sensational stories sell. People love to be involved and know what is happening. So that was good for even us to know that we are responding. Maybe that helped people believe there is Ebola by saying, oh, the people responding are not being paid their risk allowance. Risk allowance is an allowance which we assess number of days exposed to danger. How is it calculated? How is it paid? You know, it's never budgeted. You never budget for an allowance when there is no risk. So people have to go into the mindset, say, what are these professionals doing? They are good at responding to the crisis in medical terms. They may be slow in responding to logistics. They may be slow in putting together a few financial details, but they must be documented because we are not spending our money. This money belongs to somebody who will come back and say, I want accountability. So you don't go with money in the sacks and distribute when you're going to account because it's not your money. After all, now the public is going to be so excited. Now we want to see the accountability. Now that we are so close to ending the disease. By the way, we may be announced disease-free, but we are not going to demobilize everybody. Do you know why? Because we have to follow the people who survived. We have to go on with our vaccine trial. We have to go on to see that all the...
How is the vaccine trial going to be done? Because to the best of my knowledge, this vaccine is applied to volunteers who have been contacts of people who are suffering from Ebola. Now, by the time it came in, I don't think we had contact. So how are you going to apply it?
Okay. There are many, if we brought a vaccinologist or an expert on vaccines here, he will be able to highlight to you how vaccines, because these are trial vaccines, they have been brought here for a study purpose. What happens is when you have a vaccine, there are phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 3A, and continue. So these phases are limited or are described based on who is receiving the vaccine. For us here, because we had called the vaccine were going to be used what we call ring vaccination, we vaccinate the contacts so that we measure its ability to prevent infection. Ability to prevent infection in real life. But that's not only how we develop vaccines. They start in the laboratory, they go into initial identification of the molecule, they go into animal model. From the animal model, they come to human volunteers, a specific small number, and you see that the drug, the vaccine can go in the body and reacts. Then we go into a bigger number, phase 3, where we see safety of saying if we gave this vaccine to 2,000 people, what would happen? That can still all go ahead. But then there is a technical team which is going to say, we redesign the approach to the vaccine. So the initial design was going to be responding when there's an outbreak. But you can still do a vaccine trial because there's no vaccine approved for Ebola Sudan strain yet. So this can still go ahead. And I'm sure our leaders are going to be thinking about such.
Well, very interesting. Now, also looking at our health system, I remember when you were talking about having more isolation centers, having that, some were asking, but we thought during COVID these were in place. So has Ebola left our health system stronger, more equipped, or has it actually really affected health supplies and our health system? Because people assume that maybe some of the things that were needed, budgets you are producing, we need this, we need that. When we were just after COVID, they were unnecessary because they're already in stock or in place.
Thank you, Kirabo, for that question. Is our health systems the same? Has it been left the same? No. The health system has different pillars, which I think people should know. The health system has the skills of the staff, the personnel. Every time you take me through an actual treatment, all the people who have treated Ebola cases, who had never participated in an Ebola treatment center or unit, are not going to be the same. So the first health system block is the human resource. So when we talk about health systems, yes, the skills in the clinicians, the logisticians, the frontline workers has all changed. Our ambulances know how to carry people with Ebola compared to those who don't have the same illnesses. The community know how to bury people safely when there is an outbreak, what we call dignized safe burial. That's part of the health systems. We know how to communicate and bring resources into a common place. Coordination in the health system. We've set up treatment units, 383 bed capacities, all set up in a short time. That means the country has the ability to build things which are for temporary use and pull them down. That's capacity. Health system. We now know how to bring in vaccines in a shorter time. What will it happen next time? We shall know what needs to be on ground. Why did we delay? Because we had never wanted to import vaccines which are under trial at a time when you are responding, because you have so many moving parts. Do we concentrate in treating the people or bringing in new vaccines? Will the vaccines help those who are already sick? No, it's too late. But it's going to help us put out the fire in case those who have been contact. So the health system is far more sharpened, has been simulated and primed.
Well, our viewers, you can be part of the topic of discussion this morning just by using the number on your screen to send me an SMS message or a WhatsApp message. We have won the battles. Today, in the next few hours, we shall have won the war. So we need your input on this as Uganda yet registers another success in fighting such outbreaks. We defeated Ebola before, we defeated COVID, and now today, should we complete our 42 days without any new infection, then we shall be declared Ebola free. So that means just a few hours from now, that declaration will come out. We hope and we pray that we will not register any sick person. Congo had reached on such a day. I remember very well, it was on the final day when they registered a case. And they had to go back all the way from contact tracing, now that, this and that. And I'm with Dr. Daniel, who is the Director, Health Services, Public Health at the Ministry of Health, the man who has done so much sensitization, educating Ugandans on how best we can avoid. And of course, I can't forget the RDC of Mubende. Thank you so much for always being part of Good Morning Uganda at such times when we had this pandemic of Kasanda. And of course the entire Uganda. Most of those guys that were in the lockdown, Mubenda and Kasanda, we can't tire to thank you so much. You know, one thing I noticed, Doctor, Ugandans listen to the call when it comes to health. We didn't see people protesting, people rioting. They said, well, we have an enemy, let's join forces, let's fight this enemy. But one thing also, this is not medical. But I know it's in the hearts of a number of people. We still have Ugandans. Today we are going to be declared, hopefully, that we are Ebola free. But we still have these Ugandans, the doubting Thomases, that most of the times when these pandemics break out, the first thing is they look at them as avenues of getting money. That you experts use these to get money. We also have another category of people that also when this break down, they go to traditional healers. How do we have a mindset for these people, or mind shift? As medics, I know you may, but how are you moving that people may have confidence that they don't have to wait for a number of people to die, but they can believe in you, have trust in you, and respond. That people may cease going to traditional healers, but can accept that, yes, the doctors, the experts are saying, this is an outbreak and we need to work with them.
I thank you very much. You know, Ugandans, we are 42 million people, and we don't expect all of us to think the same way. The mindset of saying when we announce an outbreak is an avenue to make money. I have heard that numerous times. They said that about COVID. They've said that about Ebola. But you see, I always say, and I tell my friends, time tells the best story. At the end of the day, truth can never be hidden. People thought there was no COVID. They were told to be isolated. We called out for people vaccination. Then the country was opened up. We got a second wave. And you saw what happened in the hospitals. Almost every family had somebody they knew who died of COVID. So that's no longer a story. We lost very prominent people in this country. So even they had the money to do the treatment, but we're saying at a certain age you will not survive, regardless of what kind of fancy treatment we have. So the best was prevent, 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 and prevent. Now the vaccines became available, and some people up to now have not been vaccinated. I've been following the vaccination numbers from Namayumba, where I come from. 100 people a day, that's a very small number. So the people of Namayumba, please, next week I'm going to come home and mobilize you so that we go and vaccinate. I'm following Namayumba and Masulita. The numbers are small. We have J&J. Some of you have not gotten your boosters. Now, if me, your own son, I'm coming, probably you'll believe me because you are used to other people you are not accustomed to seeing. People are poor or people have financial constraints. So they think others are being crafty. You know this, I read one of the articles of saying everybody tries to make a njauro. That people believe by making a difference in njauro on everything, even if they've not participated. For things which concern our life, we don't have the luxury to try and manipulate for the sake of money. For us, we take an oath that we shall do no harm, and our lives and caring for our clients is the primary responsibility. Nobody goes to a hospital to be treated and first say put money on the table before we even check you. In all government
Why go to his consultation fee first?
You've gone to a private setting. When you go to any of our facilities, whether you have money or you don't, you will be touched. When you get an accident, nobody is going to first say what is in your wallet before I pick you up, or put you on a stretcher, or bandage you up before you're bleeding. That tells you our instinct is not money. It's not the resources. There are more better paying jobs and professionals other than the medical field. But people deliberately choose to take a more modest paying opportunity in health than what is lucrative elsewhere. So I implore the Ugandans, I want to submit that our motivation is not money, but as we do our jobs, we get paid. As we do our good work, there is a good pay for every good work. Sitting here and speaking, somebody else will change his mind. My reward may not be financial, but that person may remember when they see me on their village, hey, you man, you spoke well and I changed my mind. You can come and harvest some beans from my garden. I'm paid. It's not financial at the moment, but it's a goodwill. Or somebody's child is going to be saved because I'll say, please go and take your children for vaccination. These vaccines are good. My children have been vaccinated. Then they will believe me. Then they say, okay, if you say your 4 children are all vaccinated, I'll bring mine. So this is a slow but sure process. We are building people from using traditional methods of treatment. They are coming into the medical, social method of treatment. They're coming into setups, but we want to go to a phase where we prevent diseases, we prevent outbreaks, so that only hospitals are left for immunization, having your babies in the hospital, not treating malaria or measles or things or polio, things we can prevent through vaccination, so that we also get the heavy weight of the health system.
Well, I long to see that. Let me now look at some of the messages that are coming in, and I'll begin. Thanks for the show. Thanks for the Minister of Health towards curbing out. Thanks to the Ministry of Health for the good work in curbing out Ebola in Uganda. But is there an assurance that no other cases are to be declared? Because as people, we are ignorant. Once such pandemics are declared in Uganda and the vaccines are there free of charge and we have no effects on our lives, well, your message is quite hard to understand. I don't know. Maybe he's saying, will we get any other outbreak in the near future? That is what Sam actually is saying. How shall we avoid Congolese? Doctor, these are messages that are coming in. I don't know why he says, how shall we? Then at what age will they start immunizing? I think that is the trial vaccines. Then we still have, I am Amos from Arua City. This means a lot for the economy of our country, and let's pray for the best in the remaining hours that we do not report any case of Ebola. Now let me check those coming in through via WhatsApp. Well, thanks for the show. This is Patrick from Bukedia. People might not be interested in the declaration, but people are interested in the accountability. You're declaring Uganda Ebola free. What about COVID? When are you declaring Uganda COVID free? And he says accountability of the money that you've been given to spend in the fight against Ebola. Let's go with those for now.
Thank you very much. The first person asked, his question was still saying, how are we sure that there will be no outbreaks?
That now we don't move from Ebola, then we hear COVID is back on an increase, or now we hear there is yellow fever, there is this, there is that.
And let me tell my listeners, and especially the person asking, that Uganda is a very fertile land. We lie in the Congo basins, which has a lot of vegetation, animals, and people. And diseases move from animals to people. So as long as we lie in this continent, along the equator and the very fertile belt, epidemics will always occur. Epidemics and outbreaks will always occur.
But this time it seems so often. Doctor.
In every 2 years, we get an outbreak. If you go back and study the outbreaks in this region, it may not be Ebola, it may be Crimean Congo, it may be Marburg, it may be yellow fever, it may be malaria, it may be COVID all the way from China. Epidemics will always occur. That's why we have professionals, that's why we need to be on alert. So if your anticipation is that we've come to an end of a response, actually we've just come an end of a response to an outbreak, not that we've eradicated the disease. The virus of Ebola still remains in the wild, in the animals, in the neighboring countries. We just don't know when it has moved. Secondly, we need to follow up some people, because there are some privileged sites in our body where the virus can remain even when you are not sick. So we are trying to track and follow up that. For instance, we advise people to have safe sexual contacts, because there is a privileged site in the mane where the virus can remain in the survivors.
Please clarify on that.
When men get Ebola, the virus can go and hide in the gonads, in their private parts, just to put it in local language, where their testes, where their semen come from. So it remains just shedding the viruses slowly over time, and it takes the follow-up shown in Western Africa that it takes 9 months, almost a year, when somebody can still seed or can spread that virus from there.
Sexually?
Sexually. So we need to follow those people to make sure that does not happen.
So let's understand this. Now, if I recover from Ebola and I'm a man, for a period of 9 months, I can be able to pass it on.
Yes.
If
it remained in your
gonad.
privilege, yes.
So that means this person can only have unprotected sex after a year?
After 9 months to a year.
After 9 months to a year.
But we are following all these people so that to make sure we try to measure and trust and tell them that you are no longer shedding the virus. We are following up. We have what we call a survivors program.
So you're continuously checking their semen?
Yes, we are going to continuously check their semen. We are going to continually open up a clinic for them to come back and interact with the health workers, and we continuously check.
So are they going to be abstaining for a year, or they can have
They are going to remain alive. Abstinence is very possible, but also using other methods of self-protection using condoms is a very good option. The risk is very small, but one person can cause an outbreak.
Definitely.
So whereas we are declaring end of the epidemic response period, we have not said there is no circulating virus in this country. And we should not stigmatize our neighbors. They all live in the same environment. Only that in Congo, the outbreaks have been more frequent. Yes. But remember, there was an outbreak in West Africa, which took 2.5 years with thousands of people who died. We did not manufacture that outbreak. So our appeal is that let's remain vigilant. We're not saying we're not going to announce any disease outbreak soon, but we are continuously going to follow up. We are currently coming to the end of a yellow fever outbreak. We are going to vaccinate people for yellow fever. You remember we have measles outbreak. We have just recently finished measles rubella campaign in vaccination. Every time we predict something, we start acting. But we have some of the people in the population who come out and speak ill about all our programs. We are going to vaccinate polio, la 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 la. We are going to vaccinate measles, la 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 la. So we know that the noisemakers will always be there. But for us, we are focused and moving forward. Those who benefit, benefit. Those who are doubting Thomases, we shall carry along them. I mean, doubting Thomas was still a disciple. He was part of the 12. So we will always have those who doubt. We will always have to make sure we convince them. Because once those who are doubting are convinced, then they become our advocates. So the best way to win our critics is to make them our own advocates. To say, yes, we doubted this, but now looking at what we are seeing now, we are able to believe what we are told. We are able to prevent and protect. So family is the key element, or the community is the key element we need to strengthen to make sure nothing of the outbreak happens again.
Looking at another one. Good morning. Thanks for the show. This is Yaba Farajala Tabani. I pray for declaration to be free so that education sector can be safe. Well, thank you for watching. I am DJ Chris Harvesters watching live from Kaziga, Bukiro, Kashari, Mbarara. How many people have survived up to now?
Yes, from the people who we confirmed as sick, we have 87 survivors. We had 142 people who we confirmed with the disease on laboratory confirmation, and 87 survived the disease. But somebody said that we want accountability. The first accountability is case management accountability. I am here already giving you an accountability. What we did, how we did it. Now, if you are interested in the financial details, this morning, starting at 9, we are going to meet with the partners, and they're going to do what we call a minister accountability forum. All the partners are going to say how much money they invested in the response, who received the money, how was it used. Then we shall have end of action review. We are going to have a meeting where we review all our activities. Why did we do what we did? What went well? What went right? What needs to be strengthened? What should we never repeat? So what are the lessons we've learned from this response? It's a full 1-week activity where we go through our systems, where we evaluate our response, where we look at where we put money in the wrong place and the priority should have been elsewhere. We come for the health workers trained? Where are they going to be posted? How do we reassemble them in such a response? All this goes in the system, but for us, it's our work. For you, it's news because you need to be told what we are doing. But take interest and follow us on our Twitter handles, on our social media. We are now, Ministry of Health is more responsive now. We tell you everything we do. Even our leaders tell you where they are, what they're doing, so that we remain with a proactive health unit, health system, which trusts what we do. All we are doing is to build trust, because once you trust us, then everything we tell you goes along with. So we are so even appreciative to the media houses, because they help to put a face to who is working where.
Well, Doctor, time is not so much on our side. I must thank you so much for your time. It's a very busy schedule, workshops here and there as we prepare for this declaration. I'm told it's going to be in Kasanda.
Mubende. From
Mubende.
This evening, we are going to start moving to Mubende for our final dance party. Tomorrow in Mubende.
Well, I would have loved to see this declaration being there physically, but anyway, we can't. Before I let you go, what is your final remark to Ugandans?
My remark to the Ugandan is, please, let's be vigilant. Let's advocate for good health care services. But before we get good care health services, let's advocate for preventive health. Let's keep clean, let's eat well, let's take the preventive cautions and measures available to us, other than crowding the health system with preventable diseases.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Daniel Bachinze, who happens to be the Director Public Health Services at the Ministry of Health. Thank you so much for your time, and please send my regards to the entire team. We are appreciative of the effort they put, and of course we condone with you the people that died, the doctors, the medics. About 15?
8. No, there were 6.
But
6
those
health
that
workers
passed on, but those that
contracted the disease, they're about 6. I think they're 16.
Yeah, about 16, 15. But of course, we pray for their families. We thank you so much. Please keep the fight, because when such break out, the foot soldiers, the doctors, the medics at different levels. Thank you so much. Those that have sent in messages, Lilian Nyafonyo from Machindia, thank you so much, and Subuga Paul, and many others. Thank you for this feedback. It's very healthy for us here and for our guests. Well, Ruben is here to take you through sports updates, and we'll keep ensuring that we make it and we have that declaration. Let's pray. Let's ensure that we stay safe. We don't want a recap of this. We have won battles. We are winning the war today. Good morning.